Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'm going to be playing another premiere draft of Strixhaven School of Mages. Without further ado, let's get into the draft by figuring out what the Japanese card is. It is Doomblade. Very powerful, very efficient removal spell. Definitely one of the strongest cards in the pack, but I'm a little partial to Eye Twitch here. A 1-mana, 1/1 flyer, and when it dies you learn a lesson. It's kind of like a 1-mana 1/1 flyer. You get to tutor out a card from your sideboard when it dies. Just a really, really good 2-for-1 value play that I think is worth taking over even a very efficient removal spell like Doomblade. The one issue with that is we are sending a pretty good signal to whoever's on our left that they can start scooping up some black cards, because there's a rare from the Mystical Archives that's pretty good getting past to them. However, the player on our left only passes us cards in pack 2, so as long as black is open from the right, we'll be fine. So we'll just take the Eye Twitch, try to read the signals that we get passed, rather than the signals that we are passing. Okay, pack 1, pick 2 is significantly weaker. I'm not very excited about any of these cards, really. Burying Books might just be the best card in the pack. It's just blue's best piece of interaction / removal. Putting a creature back on top of the controller's library, second from the top. You can play it for only 3 mana on an attacking creature, which is a pretty good deal. A little awkward to start in blue and black, but you don't have to be aligned directly into the 2 color pairs in the format. There is no blue-black color pair in the format. There's blue-red, black-green, white-red, white-black, and some other color pair I missed, red-white. But blue-black isn't one of those, so we won't get any multicolored cards if we end up in blue and black. But if that's just where we find the strongest cards, it can be okay. I could just take pest summonings that I know I have something to go with this Eye Twitch. That would honestly be fine. Yeah. Just not a super great pack there. We'll go for pest summoning nice and early. Pack 1, pick 3, we do see Tempted by the Auric, which is a really powerful blue spell. 4 mana for each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target creature planeswalker that player controls with mana value 3 or less. Sure, it's no Blue Sun Zenith, but any mind control effect is still just ridiculous. In this format, what this does the best is it steals fractal tokens or elemental tokens. So your opponent plays a Leyline Invocation and makes like a 6/6 or 7/7 fractal, and then you just steal it from them. So huge 2-for-1, a removal spell, and a creature all in one. We'll take Tempted by the Auric very easily there. Now there's an Environmental Sciences, which is a really important, really valuable lesson to have in every single deck, as long as you have 1 or 2 ways to learn a lesson. So I'm going to take Environmental Sciences here as the card that will 100% go into our sideboard no matter what. Frost Trickster is a very solid pickup here as well to follow up the Tempted by the Auric. That would be very reasonable, but that's about it here. Mana Tithe is a fine card. We're not in white at all yet, and everything else, again, we're just not in those colors. Take the really open Environmental Sciences there. Now I can go ahead and take a Frost Trickster, be pretty happy with it. Not too much else in the pack. Decisive Denial is pretty good, but it's also blue-green. It's a little restrictive there. Okay, pack 1, pick 6. Pack is kind of full of nonsense. Yeah, I don't really like any of these cards at all, except Pigment Storm's okay if we end up blue-red. Pick 7, Elemental Summoning, don't mind if I do. Yeah, nothing quite that good here. Great card to fill out the lesson board with. One of the most efficient lesson creatures, a 5-mana 4/4. Alright, we've got a Tempted by the Auric and a Frost Trickster, which is what's pushing me towards another copy of Frost Trickster here. But Professor of Zoomancy is also just a really good, really efficient creature. It's just off color. We can also take Pledge Mage, which is a fun build around. You have a bunch of instants and sorceries in your deck. You kind of always have a bunch of instants and sorceries in this format, and this gets just like bigger and bigger and bigger as the game goes on. But I think I'd like to just take another flyer here. I think flyers also play very well in the format. Alright, Cram Session is a card we can play if we are blue-green, or if we're blue-black, if we play off the color pairs or off campus here. Go for the Cram Session. Great way to learn a lesson, and we have 3 very good lessons already. Scoop it up. I mean, when you've got a good amount of lessons like we do, cram session's just demonic tutor and you gain 4 life, right? Unstoppable, unbeatable. That is hyperbole, but that is hyperbole, but it is still a pretty great card. Could be that blue-black control kind of build here. Could happen. It's got a really good start for it, honestly. Even if we're not going to be able to play any gold cards or any multicolored cards in the main deck, that's fine. If our main 2 colors are just open enough to get great card value, great card advantage plays, like all these ways to learn lessons and steal opposing creatures and just decent removal spells and stuff like that, we could pursue some off-campus educational opportunities here. This pack is poop. I'll just take a letter of acceptance in case we need to do any splashing. Yep, and the packs are pretty dried up here. Strixhaven does have a lot of very filler, like borderline unplayable cards in it. So the late picks tend to end up with a lot of jank. Guess we'll take Professor's Warning. It's on color to our black at least. Yep. Take a Witherbloom Campus here. In case we want to do any green splashing with the black-green land. Or we could end up being a pretty normal deck, which would be like blue-green splash black. And that leaves us a good dual land for that. Don't think I want to end up playing this Crushing Disappointment, but the 5-mana 3/4 is just not a very good card. I mean, neither is Crushing Disappointment, but I think it's a little better than the 5-mana 3/4. Alright, pack 2, pick 1. Very efficient, very powerful way to learn a lesson in black here. Hunt for Specimens. 2 mana for a 1/1 pest on curve, and learn a lesson when you play it. It's also a sorcery instead of a creature, and any creatures, or any sorceries that work as creatures are also really nice in this format. There are a lot of cards that want you to cast as many instants and sorceries as possible. So being able to run cards like Hunt for Specimens that are both a creature and a sorcery are really nice, and that's what makes the summonings really nice to pull out of your sideboard as well. So I'm going to take Hunt for Specimens here. We could wheel Necrotic Fumes, that'd be pretty great. Introduction to Prophecy even would be fine. We can't get any of those back. There's not really much for us in this pack outside of a Leech Fanatic. Take the Hunt for Specimens here. Okay. This pack's empty, but there's not really anything we can do about that. Yeah, it's just kind of just a bad pack was opened up here. The best card's probably Shock. Could take this Professor of Zoomancy. I've got a black-green duel. That's one of the best cards as well. Shock, Professor of Zoomancy. Prismari Apprentice is pretty good, but we're pretty far from doing that. Torrent Sculptor, the rare, is pretty slow and inconsistent. Not very into that. I'll take a Professor of Zoomancy. 4 mana for a 4/3 and a 1/1 pest is just a pretty great deal for the mana cost. A lot of stats. We do have 1 Witherbloom Campus and an Environmental Sciences. If we want to be blue-green-black here. We'll pretty happily take an Inkling Summoning. Being able to play a flying creature off of a lesson is very good in this format. Leonin Lightscribe, easily the strongest card. But not really going to be white here unless I try to pivot into Silverquill. Doesn't feel great. I'll just take the Inkling Summoning to the sideboard. Another Hunt for Specimens. Very happy to scoop that up. Now we can have a pretty consistent turn of playing Hunt for Specimens or Cram Session on turn 2 into Inkling Summoning turn 3. Get to curve out a bit that way. Seems very nice. Yeah, I think most likely we're just making a really nice blue-black off-college, off-campus kind of deck here. But I really like how the draft has gone so far. Bunch of great learn/lesson value plays. Not super high on removal. My only removal spell is Tempted by the Auric here, but I do have 2 Frost Tricksters to slow down opposing threats as well. So that's like one of the big things we want to find is more removal. currently. Could take another campus here, be willing to splash in some blue-red stuff. I'm not in love with Waterfall Aerialist. It's a little expensive for what it's doing. We could take a Pest Summoning, but I already have one of that, and I find myself choosing most of my other lessons over it whenever I learn. I could just take one of these duels for potential splashing, or another Professor of Zoomancy. You know what? We could just turn into Witherbloom here. We stopped getting a lot of great blue this pack, and the biggest reason to be in blue is tempted by the Auric here. With double Professor of Zoomancy versus double Frost Trickster, our green is getting to where it's almost as good as our blue. And then we can maybe just be a regular like green-black deck here, like take Witherbloom Campus. Still maintaining down that direction, or Leyline Invocation's a fine filler late game card. Yeah, I don't think the blue cards are great here between Soothsayer and Opt. They're fine. Go Blank is fine in black. I think I take Leyline or Campus here. I'll take another Campus. Another Cram Session. Brackish Trudge can be okay if you can really consistently gain life. I guess I have one Cram Session and a bunch of Pest tokens. That could be solid. 4 ways to learn a lesson right now. I kind of want to just go overboard. I want to have like 50 ways to learn a lesson. That's probably wrong. We've already got 3 2-mana ways to learn a lesson. I'll take the Brackish Trudge here. Could be good. Could be recursive. Or just Witherbloom nonsense, which we might be turning into. Yeah, because we kind of just didn't get any good blue pack 2. Take the Leyline Invocation. So now we're turning into a normal, just Witherbloom deck, maybe splashing blue is what it's looking like. Got that Letter of Acceptance to help do that. 2 Witherbloom Campus is great. We did wheel the Necrotic Fumes. I'm very happy to see that. That'll be really good in this deck in Witherbloom, because we're going to have Pest tokens lying around with Hunt for Specimens. If we draw a Hunt for Specimens turn 5 or later, we can just play the Hunt for Specimens, pick up the Necrotic Fumes, exile the Pest that I just made to just use it as straight up removal. So Hunt for Specimens is just top deck removal spell later in the game, which is nice. But we also have a couple Professors of Zoomancy making expendable Pests. I think it could be pretty great. Really don't want to end up playing the Archway Commons, but it could happen. Yeah, I don't think we get to play Tempted by the Auric. I don't think there's any way we're ending up that heavy in blue at this point. Again, I only have 3 actually green cards, though. So we're still really close between blue and green. So I guess it really depends on the final pack. I don't really want to play that or this, but they're possible. Yeah, so it's like 3 green, 3 blue right now is what we're at. 2 Witherbloom Campus to help splash in the Professors if we do it the other way around. Yeah, we'll have a decent time going either way, blue-black or blue-green. So we'll see what we open up for pack 3. Pick one. I guess it's just Flunk or Eliminate. I don't actually know which one of these is better. Eliminate is an instant to destroy a creature with mana value 3 or less for 2 mana. Flunk is giving a creature -X, whereas X is 7 minus number of cards in the controller's hand. So later in the game when they're out of cards, it can kill pretty much anything. Mage Hunter's Onslaught is also good, but I think the 2 mana instant speed removal spells are better. I don't know which is better. In this format, Eliminate might be better, because there are some gigantic creature tokens like Fractals that this can blow up that Flunk can't, and there are enough ways to draw cards between learn spells and draw spells that some opponents are just going to have enough cards in hand for Flunk to not do something. So I'm going to go for Eliminate there, but I could not tell you whether or not that is correct. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows, basically. Definitely want a copy of Fractal Summoning. I'm super happy to pick that up. That way, again, if we hit one of our ways to learn a lesson late in the game, we have a super big creature to play off of them. Memory Lapse is also really nice. Maybe that should be the pick, just a very good tempo play, but I am addicted to making my lesson board as good as possible, and it's what I'm going to do here. Well, we're blue-green. We're blue-green splash black. Okay, no, that's the one thing that's actually pretty hard to do because we're so heavy into black. But Manifestation Sage seems so powerful, it's probably worth it. 4 mana for a 2-2. If you play it in your opening hand, it's like 4 mana for a 2-2 and a 4-4 or 5-5, which is really big. I guess we still have Rise of Extus, and we're pretty low on removal. Yeah, Manifestation Sage is very hard to play on turn 4 in this deck because we're heavy enough into black. All of our good black cards are cheap as well, so we can't like wait on the black cards. Yeah, that's very awkward. I'm just going to take Rise of Extus over the quadruple blue-green card. Just don't get to play it till really late in the game. I'm happy to take another Rise of Extus. This is a very good top-end removal spell for a more controlling black lesson learning deck, which looks like where our deck would be at its greatest. Take another Rise of Extus over Introduction to Annihilation or Pop Quiz. This pack looks pretty bad. Karok's like okay, but I think I'd rather just take a basic Conjuration, I guess. Probably a low enough creature count in this deck, though, that doesn't do anything. I don't know, it's another sideboard lesson option, which is cool. Does Hall of the Oracles do anything? I guess it sort of manifixes, but when it manifixes off curve. I guess there's nothing else in the pack. Really? Nothing great in the pack, at least. Alright, pretty happy to take a Lasher Malice for a nice, really cheap removal spell. Solve the Equation could be okay in here with Attempted by the Auric, with a really powerful instant or sorcery like this. I've used this in a deck before to tutor out my Serpentine Curve to make a gigantic fractal. That was pretty fun. I don't think this deck needs it, though. I think we need more cheap interaction. I'll take a Lash of Malice. Cover that. 3 green cards, 3 blue cards. Tempted by the Auric is that triple blue, though, so I'd like to end up harder or heavier into blue than black, if possible, but maybe we're just not even playing Tempted by the Auric. I don't know. If we want Tempted by the Auric to be playable at all, we need to pick more blue cards than green cards. I'll take the Frost Trickster. But I don't know that it'll work out. Take an Introduction to Prophecy now. Fine lesson to have. Elemental Summoning is a great lesson to have. It's even fine to have duplicates of it. Sure. Okay. Pick 10. This looks pretty empty. Yeah, there's nothing here. I'll take another Waterfall Aerialist. Guess I've got 2 of those, but I don't really want them. I don't have enough creatures to really be that into the Infuse. I'll take a Leyline Invocation. Witherbloom Campus would have been fine there too, but I look pretty low on late game stuff. I guess my late game plan is just my 1 Fractal Summoning. I'll just always have that late game. Alright. So we are Witherbloom Quandrix here. We're bouncing between these 3 colors. A lot of great learn/lesson stuff going on. Got an entire deck right now, though. So the deck building is just going to be, is there anything in our sideboard that's better than what's in our deck? That is going to be the question here. I guess I was wrong on that because I completely forgot we had a bunch of lands in the main deck. So we actually have 37 out of 40 cards. So we need to put 3 more cards in. So we have to throw in some more of our filler. I'm going to put in mainly the blue filler because we're going to go higher on blue sources for this Tempted by the Auric. And then, oh good lord, how many creatures do we have in here? I don't think we can really use a combat trick. I guess we take the pretty bad card draw spell for the deck. Yeah, there's 2 different combat tricks we could choose, or put that in. I mean, worst case scenario, we could put just 1 elemental summoning in the main deck, just a 5 mana 4/4. on curve doesn't look horrible in here. And then we still have one to tutor out with our lessons. Kind of a last-ditch effort kind of thing. You don't really want to main deck any lessons most of the time, but if you draft lessons as highly as I do, sometimes you end up with not enough main deck playables and you gotta fit something in there somewhere. And they can fill out the main deck slots. Could also just play 18 lands, honestly. We have 4 6-mana cards. Pretty hard to flood out with as many ways to like learn lessons as we have in this deck. 18th land is probably better than a combat trick or a crushing disappointment in this deck, but we'll take another look. How many creatures / tokens we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Never mind. 15 creatures is enough to use a combat trick, so maybe a big play is better than an 18th land. But we do also have 2 Witherbloom Campuses to scry extra mana away. Late in the game. It's pretty close. I think 18th land versus 1 combat trick are kind of comparably meh in this deck. I'll go for the 18th land, I think. I just don't see a lot of really great combat trick opportunities coming up being that important. Big play gives reach, doesn't it? It doesn't even give trample. Yeah, maybe if big play gave trample to go with our big fractals, that'd be kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm just not that excited about these combat tricks. I guess I'll throw in the Archway Commons as the 18th land, make that Tempted by the Auric even more castable. But if you thought tap lands were bad, wait till you see double tapped lands, where it comes to play tapped and you have to spend an extra mana. So we could definitely get punished for running this, but nowhere near as frequently as in most modern limited formats. This draft format is pretty nice and slow. You usually have time to slam down an Archway Commons. Not saying it's going to be great, it's definitely got a downside. But if it's the 18th land, I think I have room for a double tap land in this deck. But as long as we're not playing against like Silverquill and Lorehold aggro decks with just great curves, those do happen, they do show up, but they're not super frequent. Most decks are these, grindier, lesson-y piles. So let's get our 18th land in here. I did throw that in there, but it cut a land to do that, so let's see. 10 black cards, 7 blue, 5 green. 5, 6, 7 black sources right now, 6 blue, but I've got a triple blue card in here. I'm so glad we have environmental sciences in the sideboard. That's going to be so important. Got a letter of acceptance helping us get any color. 7 black is probably enough. I'm going to go 7 black, 7 blue, 4 green, and then 2 of any. And I think we will call that the mana base, and we'll call it a deck. Alright, here we have a look at the completed deck. We are a blue, black, green deck today with some very, very valuable lessons to tutor up and plenty of ways to learn those lessons. So we're trying to grind out a long game by always tutoring out the right lessons for the right time and just always having things to do with our mana, always having more spells to play. So we start off the early game with Eye Twitch and a couple Hunt for Specimens as nice, cheap chump blockers that can also learn us a lesson. But Fuddler is pretty filler there. But then we also have Lash of Malice and Eliminate for great, really efficient, just cheap removal spells against the aggro decks. Cram Session is another great way to learn a lesson and give us a little bit of breathing room with that 4 life. When we hit the middle of the game, we've got a bunch of just premium creatures, 3 copies of Frost Trickster, 3 copies of Frost Trickster, 2 copies of Professor of Zoomancy, got a Mage Hunter, which can be pretty good with all this learning and lesson casting. We're making our opponent lose a lot of life. The Aerialists are very filler. The Brackish Trudge could be really good in some games and really bad in some others. It all depends on if we gain the life and bring it back to the board. So definitely some filler in this deck when it comes to the creatures between aerialists and befuddlers. But then we've also got Letter of Acceptance for mana ramp and mana fixing, which is going to help us play cards like this Tempted by the Auric in a 3-color deck. And when we get to our late game, we have 2 copies of Leyline Invocation for a massive fractal, and 2 copies of Rise of Exodus as excellent removal spells that clear out any creature we need to while learning another lesson, grabbing us another big creature to play like a fractal summoning or an elemental summoning. So a lot of great value, grindy stuff going on here with this deck. When we look at the lesson board, that's probably the best thing going for the deck, but that's always my favorite part of drafting decks in the Strixhaven format. We have access to whatever kind of spells we want. We have card draw with Introduction to Prophecy. We have mana fixing as well as making sure we hit our land drops with Environmental Sciences. We have removal with Necrotic Fumes. And we have early game evasive threats with Inkling Summoning, early game chump blockers with Pest Summoning, late game finishers with Fractal Summoning, and mid to late game just solid power and toughness creatures for their mana cost, a couple 4/4s with Elemental Summoning. So really nice variety of lessons with this deck. That's the best thing going on here, and plenty of ways to learn those lessons. We have 5 total, I believe. 2 Hunt for Specimens, Eye Twitch, 2 Rise of Exodus, and Cramp Session. So we have 6 ways to learn those lessons. So super solid, super consistent deck here. Excited to see how it does as we get into the gameplay. Alright, here we are in game 1 on the play. Pretty great start here. Just need to hit 1 more land to play this Letter of Acceptance, and then we can play everything in the hand, but we have 2 ways to learn a lesson to grab an Environmental Sciences if we need to, and consistent ways to gain life to bring this Brackage Trudge back from our grave to the board. I don't know why I can't say that. Brackish Trudge. There we go. So let's start with Hunt for Specimens here. I think I am going to have to pick up Environmental Sciences, unfortunately. That way, if I don't hit a land drop next turn, I can cast that. Did hit a land drop, so now I just want to play the Trudge. Or the Letter. Opponent has no creatures out yet. It's probably nice to play the 4-power creature. Reject from our opponent. Going to exile it so we don't have to worry about trying to gain life at any specific times. Go ahead and hit them for 1 here. Then probably drop the Letter of Acceptance. Opponent is on an annoying deck here if they have another counter spell. We have to consider the possibility that they do. If they have another counter spell, I think it would be worse if they counter Letter of Acceptance than anything else. Probably go Environmental Sciences. Yep, that's pretty obnoxious. We'll just pass the turn then. Historian and Soothsayer Adept. Okay, those cards don't really do anything, so we're pretty cool with that. Now we've got the mana to play Letter into Cram Session while they're tapped out. And we are off to the races here. Five mana total, just need 1 more to play this Rise of Exodus. Take over the game with that. Guess if I can't play it, we'll just play a 4/4 Elemental Summoning off on curve. I don't need to get my late game Fractal Summoning right now because I can get it when I cast Rise of Exodus. So let's just grab something we might play in the near future. Alright, so Historian can get exiled from their graveyard to make a 3/2 token, but that's for 5 mana, so I'm not super worried about that. Just trading off a 1/1 token into it is pretty nice to do in the early game. A Waterfall Aerialist. They have exclusively red mana up, which means they shouldn't be countering anything here. So now we can drop the 4/4. It's fine by me. Professor of Zoomancy would also be okay there. But Professor of Zoomancy is cheap enough, I might be able to play 2 spells in 1 turn on a later time. Because I can go like Zoomancy plus Frost Trickster on a later turn. So they can't block well here. We probably play the Waterfall Aerialist, but also attack for 4. We've already got a life total lead. Let's see if we can expand that a bit. I guess I could kill the Stormkill Narnist if I'm that worried about it. I'm not particularly, though. All depends on if they have a bunch of storm spells in their deck, I guess. Yeah, I'm just going to go for the Aerialist, and we'll see what the Stormkill Narnist can do here. Gives them a treasure token whenever they cast an instant or sorcery. It's potentially something they might combo off with. We'll see. You know, honestly, I'm not a very big fan of Aerialists. I'm going to just go for the block on this Stormkill Narnist. They have a ton of spells in their hand. Since they didn't play a land that turn, and they definitely would have for the Historian, so it's just all counterspells all day. Burying Books. Okay, that is fine. Now they're tapped out of any counterspells. We can play Professor and Frost Trickster. More than enough creatures on board to start beating them down, and if they play a good blocker here, we Rise of Exodus on it, keep the beats coming, hit them for 7 damage 2 turns in a row, try to find the kill that way. Alright, Heated Debate the Professor, so we only hit for 3. Sure. Do I draw a card off this Letter of Acceptance? My only green source. I don't want to Rise of Exodus the Adept. I really don't. But then I would be able to learn a lesson and actually play something else here. An Inkling Summoning, or an Elemental Summoning, or a Fractal Summoning or something. Both these things are awkward, but I'm going to sack this and draw a card. Of course. Alright, well... let's hit for 3. There's the Spectacle Mage. Alright, I'll exile that. That's good enough. Especially with another copy of Rise of Exodus now. Probably do grab the Fractal. Yeah, I'll grab the Fractal over the Inkling. Another Spectacle Mage, another Rise of Exodus. Alright, there's my green source. Didn't have to wait too long to hit Professor of Zoomancy. Well... 8 mana... yeah, this is fine. Because I can use the Hall of Oracles to put a +1/+1 counter on the Frost Trickster when I cast this. I actually could have taken an Expanded Anatomy there to cast on the Frost Trickster next turn. That might have been better than Inkling Summoning. Pretty close. Pigment Storm the Frost Trickster, sure. Draw and Eliminate. Don't really want to eliminate that Adept. I'll play Summoning and Professor. I think that's better than just playing Summoning and putting a +1/+1 counter on it. Wandering Archaic. That's an issue and a half. Every time I cast an instant or sorcery, they get to cast a copy of it unless I pay 2. So Fractal Summoning has to be for 4, and then I spend 2 to stop them from duplicating it. Block, go to 2. Rather just hit them with that. Pass. Alright, they are out of removal, so just the Inkling token with the Hall of Oracles to buff it up is gonna get there. And I'm pretty glad that I drafted that Hall of Oracles, because it was less the filtering that was great on it. I just completely forgot how good that secondary ability to just keep putting a +1/+1 counter on a creature is. Really, really easy to consistently cast an instant or sorcery every turn, as we saw in the end of that game, so the Hall of Oracles for those extra counters. That was really nice. We're going to start things off 1-0 as we head into Game 2. Here we are in Game 2. Our opponent is on the play, so we are on the draw here. I'm going to keep it and hope for the best. With Letter of Acceptance and an island, we already are at 2 out of 3 blue sources for Tempted by the Auric, so I only have to draw one more island to be able to cast that. And everything else in the hand, if I draw literally any land, I can cast everything else. As long as I hit one land in my first 3 draw steps. We missed the first time. How about draw number 2? We've missed on the second draw. Will I get a land on the third draw? We're at a 52% chance. We are an 18 land deck here. Alright, they're just going to go to the end step. I'll just shoot the 1/1, I guess, since I still have an eliminate for something else. I have to use the +2/+2 hexproof trick to save it. Or that. Either one of those, I'm pretty happy trading a card off. Wow, that is unfortunate. We've missed 3 land drops in a row. We're now at 53% of the deck being lands. They clearly have another combat trick. Just gonna eliminate that now. Hoping that it's one of the combat tricks that like learns a lesson when they cast it, and them not having a creature is really gonna punish them. Alright, well, we finally found a land, but not until they've resolved a Quintorius. This could be bad. Whenever one or more cards leave their graveyard, they create a 3/2 white spirit. So if they play the like creature that can exile instants from their grave for value, that's going to be horrific. We're just starting this game so far behind. I'm going to play the Letter of Acceptance here. Alright, luckily they haven't hit any of the Quintorius synergies, so Quintorius just sits there doing nothing. Alright, Tempted by the Auric does not do anything right now. I could just play a 3/4 and then they can't even attack into it. But I guess they have that. Seems like they probably have a combat trick they've been trying to use here. At 1 more mana, I could play 2 3-drops. That'd be pretty exciting, but since I can only play 1 spell here, I should probably play the 4-mana spell, right? Drop a Mage Hunter here or something. It's coming to play tapped. Yeah, it does. I was going to say Trudge might be good because it's a really good trade for Quintorius. Yeah, I'll just play the Mage Hunter. Most expensive spell we can cast here, and if they don't have a combat trick, they don't get it at all. Well, there's the combat trick, and there's Blade Historian to give the board double strike. I forgot, Mage Hunter is the opposite of how I thought it was. It's whenever an opponent casts or copies a spell. Oh, wow. I guess this is just divine punishment for last game, but I don't think this keep was greedy at all. 54% of our deck is lands right now. If we had 6 lands, we could tap both of these with 2 Frost Tricksters and just go from there, but I've drawn really few lands this game. So we can just only play 1 spell again, and there's nothing I can steal with Tempted by the Auric. Oh, good gravy. On the plus side, none of our removal spells could have killed either of these creatures. None of the removal spells that I used early. You've got to be kidding me. We're just drawing another Waterfall Aerialist here. Now I have to double block. I don't even kill either of these on a double block, because they first strike away one of the tricksters. So I guess I just single block chump. If they have a removal spell as well, I'll just give them the win. That's fine. Guess that's 2 chump blockers. That's good enough that I'm actually not gonna let them just win the game if they top deck removal. Please, no combat trick. Alright, GG. Those draws were horrendous, not much to say but that. Our most filler, weakest creatures in the deck, the double Waterfall Aerialist, end up in the hand there. We needed to draw lands from the start, missed multiple land drops in the 18 land deck. Ended up at the point where like 60% of our deck's lands at this point. We just hit so few. Just some abysmal draws. We are 1-1 heading into game 3. Alright, here we are in game 3 on the draw again. This hand is very sweet with a turn 1 Eye Twitch into the Archway Commons for whatever mana we need. And then we've got an Eliminate and a Professor coming up. Opponent is on black-white, the most aggressive color pair in the format if they have a good aggro deck built. Can play a more controlling deck though as well with a bunch of Rise of Ecstasies like our deck is doing. Killian Ink Duelist is the first play. I'm just going to eliminate that immediately before they even untap. I just do not want to deal with that card. Lifelink Menace, just going to be impossible to race even if they don't get any bonus from that spell mana cost reduction there. Professor of Symbology, oh good lord. Killian into Professor of Symbology, 2 of the best uncommons in the entire set. Professor of Symbology is phenomenal. Grabs an Inkling Summoning. Guiding Voice is another really good aggressive way to learn a lesson. Get a +1/+1 counter and learn a lesson for only 1 mana. Love the card. They grab Spirit Summoning and Inkling Summoning. They are coming in very hot here, and I am not a fan. I do like having an Eye Twitch against their Inkling Summoning, that's kind of nice. If they don't, like, learn for an expanded anatomy or something like that. But, I am very scared with how quickly they are just amassing value here. Alright, here's the Inkling Summoning. Do they have another Guiding Voice? Put a counter on the Inkling Summoning so that it can beat an Eye Twitch? Oh my god. What a hand. Not even what a deck, but what a hand. Good lord, they pick up an Expanded Anatomy now to buff the Inkling. Just drop a Professor of Zoomancy, we can't attack into a 3/2. At least we have trades for the Professor of Symbology on the ground now, but they just expand the Inkling in the sky. Get the game to last, we can... We cannot get the game to last. Into Combat Professor as their turn 4 play. Ooh, I guess it's their turn 5 play, but still, that is a nutso card. Yeah, I'm never going to trade this Eye Twitch into an Inkling regardless. I think we trade our weaker creatures off on the ground. Keep the beefier Professor. Could get an Inkling Summoning of my own. they can only expand anatomy one of these two, so one of these is going to have 3 or less toughness, right? They expand anatomy this, it has 4 toughness. They expand anatomy this, it has 5. But I can block the other one with my Inkling, because I can make it a 3/2 off of my land. So I think that's what we do, because I don't have a play next turn. So now we say that my play this turn is Inkling summoning Hall of Oracles to make it a 3/2. Witherbloom Camp is tapped. And then I Rise of Exodus next turn. Alright, I can't block anything with Professors, so might as well hit them for 4. This is the dream Silver Quill deck. This is what you want to do in Silver Quill aggro, and part of what I mean when I say how important learn and lesson cards are, they're just important to every archetype. They seem like they're just good for like these really grindy, slower, Prismari, Quandrix sort of decks, but we've got this weird Sultai deck that's doing a ton of learn lesson value, and the Silver Quill aggro deck is all over that learn with our opponent here. So it's just a very powerful archetype for every deck in the format. A very powerful mechanic for every deck in the format, I should say. Alright, well now I'm getting just combat tricked into oblivion. Yep, that's horrible. Necrotic Fumes here. It's not like I have anything to sack though. Just have to sack the Professor. Does not feel great. Let me just take Environmental Sciences to gain a little bit of life. Next turn I'll have 8 mana up for Leyline Invocation, so I can play Leyline and Environmental Sciences. I feel like I'm just going to Leyline and put a Hall of Oracles counter on something though. Oh, that's what I should have done. I should have went land and used the Hall of Oracles on the Professor. That was loose. We need to be trying to outrace them as our only hope here with no other flyers. Hit me for 5 each turn. That takes 3 hits to die. I don't even make it a 3-turn clock. Or I don't make it a 4-turn clock by taking Environmental Sciences. Guess I will take Necrotic Fumes in case I top deck something specific. Oh, I did already play the land. Never mind. I'm not a doofus. Just misjudged the amount of lands I had available here. Well, they're not on Expand Anatomy yet. They're on Spirit Summoning for now. So now we play Leyline Invocation. Why would you tap like that? Alright, cross our fingers. Hope for the best. Okay, if they have a 1-mana removal spell or a 1-mana pump spell, we're dead. Because they can spend 3 on Anatomy to make their board state 8 power. If they can't kill us this turn and we top deck a small creature to exile to our Necrotic Fumes, we've got a shot. That's like our only shot. I guess it's not our only shot. We've got a decent amount of flyers in here. That could give us a little bit extra time. Closing Statements. That is a removal spell and... plus some counter. Any creature in the deck wins the game. Cram Session can pick up a creature. Cram Session, Pest Summoning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 for Pest Summoning, 3 for Fumes, 2 for Cram Session. I think that gets there. I just need to make sure I spend my mana correctly. Black, that's black, yep. We do that, and then we do this. Oh, wow, that was a close game. That was a wildly close game. They were 1 damage off from just killing us with that closing statement. Oh my god. Alright, well, glad I went for some racing there. That was the only way we were going to get there. Generally. And we did outrace them in the end. I think that was a phenomenal deck from our opponent. Very well played from them as well. If I read that they had defend the campus, I could have made that block better. That was about all we could have done that game. Better. So I could have blocked the Inkling instead of the Combat Professor, but I was expecting like Professor's Warning style combat trick, where they put a +1/+1 counter on the creature or give it indestructible, where our creature would have died either way. Like a +2/+2 combat trick. And the block that I made was way better if they were like bluffing something. Well, I guess I should have expected they weren't bluffing. Yeah, I don't know. That was the one play that was questionable. I think everything else though was a really close, really tight game of Magic there. But we are going to narrowly make it out alive. We'll be 2-1 as we head into round number 4. Here we are in game 4. Pretty solid opening hand. Love that early hunt for specimens. Grab whatever we want. We've got an early eliminate if our opponent is off to some spicy aggro stuff again. We can kill the Killian. And we know what we're doing late game with multiple copies of Leyline Invocation. Double black is going to start it off for our opponent. They'll play their own hunt for specimens. And they will grab a pest summoning. Time for our hunt for specimens. Kind of want to grab an Inkling summoning here. Because I'm going to play another hunt for specimens later. Right, turn 4 we go hunt for specimens and eliminate. Yeah, we just want a turn 3 play, and I think our turn 3 play should be Inkling summoning here. But yeah, then turn 4 we can play hunt plus eliminate and pick up a... Maybe I should take that trade. I don't know, that's kind of weird. What is going on? Oh, they're just stuck on double black here? Well, now I have a Befuddler to beat a pest token, which is really nice. Flunk. Our Inkling has been flunked. Anyways, I was going to say, turn 4 I get to hunt for specimens and hold up and eliminate. But pick up the elemental summoning for turn 5. Not if I hit a tap land, because now I don't know if I'm going to elemental summoning turn 5. I'm still going to make that play because I also have a Befuddler to hold up at instant speed. Offer the pest trade. Alright, if they go for the block, I'd rather Befuddler than hold up eliminate. We get to keep our pest. Our nice little grub. These things really are adorable. Completely adorable. And our opponent is just going to be stuck on mana all game. Kept the monocolored two-lander. Did not get rewarded. Rough spot for our opponent there. Unfortunately, it looks like there were no environmental sciences in their draft pod, because then they could have went hunt for specimens for the environmental sciences and get out of that mana situation right there. And then, again, another game really showing off how nice just having that environmental sciences just in case is. So 3-1 for us. Solid record so far, guaranteeing at least 1,000 gems out of the event. You'll love to see it. We're going to keep fighting as hard as possible. If we can get one more win, we'll pretty much be breaking even. So let's head on into round 5. Here we are in game 5 with our premium 2-mana plays. Love learning some lessons early on, picking up whatever we need. And that is how we fill out our curve. Very happy with the hand. Going to be a snap keep. We'll see what our opponent decides to do. They are going to keep their hand of 7. Start things off with a Prismari Campus. Alright, well they're definitely on blue-red. Go for a hunt for specimens first. We can start chipping away with a 1/1. Don't actually have the double black to play in Inkling Summoning if I pick it up right now. However, I still think it's going to be our best early game play here. Just getting a flyer onto the board, especially with the Hall of Oracles in our hand. I actually should have played it that turn. That was loose. Now if I top deck a Swamp Eye, can't play Inkling Summoning and use Hall of Oracles. Although I guess I wouldn't have the mana to do that regardless. Okay, so we'll play Hall of Oracles now. And I think we're just setting up mana. We'll play our own Letter of Acceptance, since I can't afford to cast the Inkling Summoning regardless. Might play a Mage Hunter. Could be pretty good in this matchup. Might be casting a bunch of spells, losing a bunch of life. But also just playing an Inkling Summoning and putting a +1/+1 counter on it seems pretty viable too. Get a 3/2 flyer. Alright, still nothing from our opponent. Yeah, here's a Swamp. We already could play Inkling Summoning off the letter, but now we definitely can play Inkling Summoning. Go for the Inkling Summoning. The fact that our opponent has played nothing so far makes me feel like their hand is a lot of probably removal and counter spells. So I'm actually going to put the counter on the Pest token, because I don't expect the Inkling token to last very long. Might pan out poorly for us if our opponent's hand is just nothing, it's just nonsense. But there we go, there's the Pigment Storm on the Inkling, so happy to put the counter elsewhere. Could get my 6th mana immediately for Leyline Invocation, but I don't want a Leyline Invocation with only 5 lands out. So I think we go Mage Hunter Witherbloom Campus. Start shooting them in the face every time they cast an instant or sorcery. And then with Cram Session and Rise of Exodus both learning a lesson, we're pretty much guaranteed to be playing a sorcery every turn for the rest of the game, to trigger our Hall of Oracles and just keep getting +1/+1 counters. It's going to be really nice. Alright, a couple 4/4s for our opponent. What is our best line here? I really like Eye Twitch getting counters from the Hall. But I can't afford to play Eye Twitch and Rise of Exodus. I feel like it's probably Rise of Exodus, make Mage Hunter a 4/5 so that that can still attack in. That seems pretty legit. Pick up a Fractal Summoning. Then we have another gigantic game-ending threat. Alright, they're down to 10. Oh, it's the splashed in Rise of Exodus off of double white there. That is very good here. They do go down to 9 life. The Mage Hunter does shoot them in the face first. Down to 2 cards in hand, but they're about to draw a 3rd by learning a lesson with their Rise of Exodus. They grab it. Teachings of the Archaics. That is going to be a draw 2. Draw 3 cards. If an opponent has at least 4 more cards in hand than you, that's not going to happen, I don't think. I can try hard to make it not happen. Archway Commons was a terrible draw against Teachings of the Archaics, because I really want to just dump a land out and dump as many spells as possible. Hard to do that when my land requires me to tap an extra mana. Yeah, I can't go Eye Twitch and Leyline Invocation this turn while still playing Archway Commons. Yeah, this was actually insanely bad here. What a draw. Guess I'm just gonna Archway Commons and play Leyline. And just have 3 cards in hand total, so they can't possibly get into a position where I have 4 more cards in hand than them, because I have 3. Let me just pass turn. A little sad though, I would have loved to have an eye twitch on board and just start putting +1/+1 counters on the eye twitch, trying to get in there in the sky. Just tap out for fractal summoning now. I guess we go to combat and see what they're going to do to our fractal token first, which is probably Bury-in Books. You want some kind of combat trick? Subtract it. Alright, so they bounce off each other. They grab an elemental summoning to make another blocker. So I could have Lasher Malice to win that combat, but it's pretty sketchy against all their open mana still. Didn't seem like they had a counterspell last time. I'll just make another giant fractal. They have a counterspell this time. Nope. Alright. Just keep making fractals. Keep doing mathematics here. Ooh, Vortex Runner is kind of scary. They're 1 land away from that being unblockable. I guess they're really far on the defensive, though. They're completely tapped out. If I just kill one of their creatures with, like, Rise of Exodus here, then they can't block either of these, right? If they double block with a 4/4 and a 2/3 on the 6/6, I guess they're fine, but they can't do that without dying to my other 2 creatures. Yeah, they have to just go chump chump. Oh yeah, let's set that up. I'm going to put the counter on the eye twitch. I could put the counter on the 6/6 to make it a 7/7, but they already can't double block it without dying. Alright, so they're going to kill the 2/2 and chump the 7/7. So they're down to 3. Pillar Drop Rescuer is the play, very good with that Vortex Runner. They get a 2/2 flyer, they pick up the Vortex Runner, they recast it. They have 3 total blockers. I can just Lash of Malice the flyer and put a counter on the eye twitch, and that is lethal in the sky. Hall of Oracles has been the MVP for the deck. Ridiculous card. Just having one of your lands constantly putting a +1/+1 counter on one of your creatures. Really, really good. Absolute MVP here. I'm definitely going to give that the best card of the deck reward in the end. Biggest overperformer when we discuss the deck after the event is done. But it's not done yet. We are 4-1, pretty much breaking even on gems. And I've still got 2 losses to go before I'm kicked out. So we'll see if we can get even more gems out of the event as we continue into round 6. Here we are in game 6. One of the riskiest hands mana-wise. I think I have to mulligan, because if I don't hit a natural black source, I can't play anything till turn 4. Because we have to spend an extra mana into the Hall of Oracles to filter off of it. The hand's also just in general pretty slow. 2 actual 4-drops. So I'm going to take the mulligan here, unfortunately. Alright, well this mana base is pretty perfect when it comes to colors. I'll just ditch the Archway Commons here. Cram Session into Professor of Zoomancy, we can just grab an Environmental Sciences if I don't top deck a land turn 2. Alright, didn't hit a land. Bunch of 4-mana cards in the hand. Pretty interested in Cram Session for Sciences, but I could Befuddler and then next turn Cram Session put a counter on Befuddler and then Sciences the turn after that. That actually Tempts me a lot. I'm going to try to get maximum +1/+1 counters off of the Hall of Oracles. We're going to be greedy today. Get in there, Froggy boy. It's Frogger's time to shine. Well, now I have a Frost Trickster. Alright, sorry, Frogger. I'm just going to play the flyer. Alright, field trip from our opponent. They're just going to set up their mana for now. Pick up a basic Conjuring. That's actually very good for them. They get to grab a creature from among the top 6 and gain 3 life, very importantly. They gain some life while they're setting up. Now I just want to curve creatures out. I just want to try to beat them down while they're just setting up mana and drawing cards. Hit them as hard as we can here. And yeah, if I just naturally draw up to my 4 mana on the curve, we'll just keep playing all the threats. Professor of Zoomancy. Come on, opponent, you're supposed to keep playing cards that don't impact the board for me. It's kind of awkward. I don't have the mana to play Eye Twitch and Cram Session to put the +1/+1 counter on it with Hall of Oracles. I guess I'm just going to play Waterfall Aerialist, play more flyers, get them down to 12 here. So they're down to 12, facing 5 power worth of flyers. If I put a single +1/+1 counter on one of my flyers, then they're dying in 2 flying attacks. That's a reach creature. Important to know, this random rhinoceros can jump way up into the sky and block flyers. Do not get got by the hidden reach. Yeah, now I just can't get through that. Now they're just going to stabilize with a bunch of value plays. I guess I could buff the Aerialist after this Cram Session to make it a 4 power creature. Seems fine. Pick up Necrotic Fumes because I've got a Pest here. It is castable off of Hall of Oracles next turn, sure. I think it'd be reasonable also to I think it would also be reasonable to pick up Environmental Sciences and just immediately cast it there. Alright, when I said perfect mana here, that might have been a mild exaggeration. We've had a lot of turns where we didn't get to play our Eye Twitch. Just because of mana considerations. Now I could play Eye Twitch and Fumes, but then I don't get a +1/+1 counter on anything. Still probably where it's at. Put them down to 10. We are quickly running out of stuff to do. But I'm at 24 life. I have 3 power flyers against them at 10 life. So if they don't hit more flyers or removal, we could be good. Well, Aether Helix is going to let them replay the reach creature and bounce our Frost Trickster. My options are to play Leyline Invocation or play Frost Trickster, that's it. If I play Frost Trickster now, I can't get through the Master Symmetrist next turn anyway, so I think I'm just going to play the Leyline Invocation. Cultivate from our opponent. They haven't played a land yet this turn, so they will get to play Master Symmetrist and Cultivate in the same turn. Very good value. And let me Frost Trickster that down. Ooh, double Frost Trickster? They have 5 total power if I tap down Professor of Zoomancy. Which means we send in our Fractal as well. Guess they start gaining life off these pests, but I do start clearing the board a little bit. Elemental Masterpiece. Does not give them any flyers, but gives them quite a few threats. Oh my god. Oh my god. Just play Frost Tricksters, copy 1, 2, and 3. That's how you try to get there. They still have a basic conjuration. They're going to be at 7 here, which is still dead to my flyers. If they don't draw a flyer off of it. Explore the Vastlands? What does that even do? Oh, each player gains 3 life? Each player looks at the top 5, may reveal a land and or an instant or sorcery. Each player puts the cards revealed this way into their hand. And the rest on the bottom. I can get an eliminate and a hunt for specimens, or an eliminate and a land. We look at the top 5, so I don't get to see what they chose until after I choose mine. I guess I pick Hunt for Specimens over Eliminate? Weirdly enough, because I can't eliminate the reach creature, and I can Hunt for Specimens for another flyer. They got a Berry in books. God, that's not good. At least they don't have the mana for it yet, unless they play the land right now. Okay, so they can use it after I declare the attack, but they're at 10 life anyway. They gain some life here. I guess they don't have the mana to play the Inkling Summoning and put a +1/+1 counter on one of my creatures, which is not lovely. I think that's okay there. It's probably better to play Inkling Summoning. So if I put a +1/+1 counter on one of these, they'll just bounce whichever has a counter on it regardless. Cool. Pick for 5. Hunt for Specimens, pick up Inkling Summoning. They're playing 100% off the top. Could also Hunt for Specimens, grab... I guess I don't have the removal anymore. I can't kill the Master Symmetrist. Yeah, nope. Grab the Inkling Summoning. Cast it off the Hall of Oracles. Play a land, play a Rutha, and they are dead in the sky. They're going to scoop them up, and we are now 5-1 as we head into Game 7. That game really just showing off how good flyers are in the format. Our opponent had a great chance of stabilizing if we didn't just keep drawing more flyers there. It was like the only thing that could save us was just having a ton of flyers on the board. They had plenty of other creatures. Alright, here we are for Game 7 on the play. We know we get to play a Frost Trickster into a Mage Hunter. Kind of an awkward hand. We do have 2 Hunt for Specimens Cram Session for great 2-drops to try to mulligan into, and we don't have a green source here. I'm a little interested in mulliganing, but I don't think it's necessary. This is a really close mulligan decision. I'm gonna go for it. This hand does have better mana. I don't think this is a mulligan to 5. I'm just trying to figure out, is this better than our opening hand was? Maybe. Very close regardless. I think I have to get rid of Lash of Malice and just hope they're not that aggressive. I don't think I want a hand with 0 creatures. And I really don't want to get rid of Rise of Exodus. It's such a great late game play. Alright. No 1-drop or 2-drop, we're happy to see that. Not that there's a lot of playable 1-drops in this format in Silver Quill, it's pretty much just the flyer that learns a lesson that we're running. I'll offer the trade for the Trudge here. They will not take it. That is 6 damage to the face. Alright, with Letter of Acceptance, we've got enough mana to cast Rise of Exodus next turn. We can learn a lesson off that. Try to keep casting spells that way. Double Shadewing Laureate, so when any of their flying creatures die, they get a +1/+1 counter on another card. And now I know what I'm going to Rise of Exodus. We'll kill the bigger flyer. Offer the trade with Trudge first, because it's never going to block anything. Well, they're going to take the trade. Alright, well then they get another counter onto this other Laureate, and then we will exile it. Probably supposed to grab my own Inkling Summoning so I can block theirs, but I'm very tempted to just take a Fractal Summoning because I'll have 7 mana next turn, just make a 5/5 and try to outrace them. Could also play in Environmental Sciences and pick up Brackish Trudge, but that's almost definitely not the play. Yeah, it's Inkling Summoning or Fractal Summoning here, really. I feel like I need my cards to outclass theirs quite a bit. Because I'm out of cards, whereas they still have 4, potentially. This could be a death sentence if I take this Fractal Summoning, though. It's really close. I'm going to take the Inkling Summoning so I know I have a way to trade into their next flying threat. Spectre Defense, alright, Inkling Summoning trades into that as well when I've got a Hall of Oracles around. Draw a card off this Letter of Acceptance, but I can do it during their end step because I'm not going to have the mana up for whatever I draw. I'll have 0 mana up after I try to do that. Oh. Any instant or sorcery makes this 3 toughness. Yeah, I think I just take it. And any combat trick kills it, obviously. While letting them keep their Spectre, which is not good. Too many things can go wrong there. Alright, Professor of Zoomancy, not bad. Not bad at all. And a Waterfall Aerialist. I'll throw my Waterfall Aerialist directly into a combat trick, that is fine. Take the hit from the eager first year. If they combat trick here, odds are they can't play Inkling Summoning as well, unless they hit another land. Yep, soak up their mana, they play 0 creatures that turn since we did that, feels good. I'm just gonna keep racing with 2 copies of Professor of Zoomancy coming up. These are large creatures on the ground to start hitting them with, and potential life gain to skew the race in our favor as well. Also get to return the Trudge to our hand if a pest token dies. This Trudge has not been very good. That is that is probably the underperformer. Just a tapped 3 mana 4/2, really. Ew, Pillar Drop Rescuer for Shadewing Laureate. That's strong. Not into it. One thing to note that I could have been doing here, but I'm just too lazy to, is I could have been stopping my upkeep and choosing if I wanted to scry one during my upkeep. I'll start doing it now. I don't think I would have ended up doing it any of those other turns, regardless. So get 4 damage in for free. They're down to 6. But now they're going to have a lot of flyers, and every time I kill one, they get a +1/+1 counter onto a different flyer. And this will just be another game that shows how good flyers are in the Strixhaven format. Unfortunately, this is going to show how good flyers are at beating me instead of how good flyers are at beating our opponents. It's looking like a loss here. Alright, at least no attacks yet. Let's scry 1, find a swamp, put it on the bottom. Scry 1 again. Hall of Oracles can get us 1 mana of any color, and this leaves up tempting the Auric if I draw into that, and then I just like win the game if I hit that. Or tempted by the Auric, I mean. There it is. I guess I don't win, but it's very big. Shadewing Laureate is the only good target. Oh, please don't have another Beaming Defiance. That'd be absurd. Wow. Must be good. Alright. I guess we probably still lose then. They just need 1 mana, and they can just sit here and beat us with Spectre the Fens. They can start draining us for 2 life every turn. I guess I could have sent the Professors in. Those were still fine attacks. Oh my god. Yeah, their deck is absurd. It's just all flyers all day, double Shadewing Laureate to go with them. This is ridiculous. Got to scry during my upkeep, but that's good because I needed all my mana for this. I'd like to kill the Spectre, the Fens, but I think Combat Professor is more important for right now. Take a Necrotic Fumes and I could kill both soon. Take Environmental Sciences, I get to gain a life right now. A little farther out of reach from just dying to their flyers on the crackback. I think I take the Fumes. Again, things are not feeling very good here. Maybe. Oh my god, they're gonna go to 1, so they're just gonna cast a removal spell and kill me. They have to have a removal spell and a combat trick. Oh, whenever a creature blocks this turn, its controller loses a life. Wow. Well, I guess they had to have exactly that removal spell. That's ridiculous. Alright, congratulations. 5-2 as we head into game 8. Alright, here we are in game 8. I'm going to keep the hand. It is slow. We don't have any of our 2-mana lesson learning cards, but we've got Tempted by the Auric. One of the strongest cards in the deck. See what we can do with that. Our opponent has a way better curve. This is like our dream draw, eye twitch into cram session. Alright. Well, it's actually nice to hit the Archway Commons here. Turn 2 when I don't have anything else to do. Alright, so they did pick up Environmental Sciences. They did need it here. Grab a Plains, another Silver Quill deck. Drop a Letter of Acceptance, pass the turn. There's an Eager First Year. Valentine, Dean of the Vein. Dean of the Vein. 1 mana, 1/1 menace lifelink. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile it. Spend 2 mana and get a Pest. So 1/1 menace lifelink, when my creatures die, they can spend extra mana to make 1/1s. It's not that bad. I have no idea what I'm supposed to try to Tempted by the Auric. Or even if I'm supposed to try to cast that right now. Probably not. Probably just play Mage Hunter and pass. Another eager first year. Essence Infusion. Holy crap. Gain 5. And I can't block at all? That is a massive yikes. I guess I know what I'm tempting at least, but I don't love this. Don't love this position at all. They're at 31 life now. I don't even think I'm trying to race. I'm just trying to block their eager first year. Alright, Hunt for Specimens probably picks up an Inkling Summoning. I actually love if it picked up Expanded Anatomy to buff the eye twitch, but no, it does pick up an Inkling Summoning. And they have Vanishing Verse for a 2-mana exile removal spell on our 4/5. Good lord. Yeah, it's a good rare to have there. And now I'm just dead no matter what. Play one blocker or I play one removal spell. Don't have the mana up to do anything else either way. Block, block, take 2. Block, take 2. Guess? I'm barely alive either way. Either way that I do this here. I think I Rise of Exodus. Set up another play for next turn. And I think it's probably Inkling Summoning. Trade into their flyer. That. Now we're just Valentine, just a 1/1 menace is threatening to kill me pretty quickly. Down to 3. But they're out of cards. They're playing off the top of their library, so there's the mildest chance we can recover. It immediately hit another creature, and that might be the death sentence. Block, block, block. Actually, block, block, block. No, I only take 2. I go to 1 if I play 2 creatures this turn, which I can do. The only way that I survive is if I block everything but the 1/1s. So either way, I have to trade one of these off. If I actually put the counter on the first year. Right, because either way I put the counters, I'm going to have to trade here. And trade here. Kill that, take 2. Yeah, that's so weird, but I actually put the counter on the eager first year over the flyers. Because they're both going to die this turn guaranteed if they attack with everybody. Cram Session? That probably means we're dead. If they have Expanded Anatomy, they just buff Valentine. Or Necrotic Fumes, they just kill one of our creatures. Alright. Yeah, not a lot we could do there. That was just an absurd Silver Quill deck. It is the best deck in the format, and they curved out very well. They missed one land drop, but with Environmental Sciences in the lesson board, they can easily get there. Alright. GG's 5 and 3. It's gonna be today. Pretty great run overall. For sure. I think we lost like every game we were drawing waterfall aerialists. That card's just a really bad rate. Felt like it showed up for all our losses at least. I guess it showed up in some of our victories as well, but yeah, definitely the biggest underperformers in the deck. We have some very weak, kind of mediocre filler creatures. If we could swap out the Befuddler actually was fine, but the Trudge and the double aerialist were constantly showing up in the games that we were having the hardest times, in the games that we were losing, just because they're not a very efficient rate for the size of creature that they are. They have no extra text that's of any value, unlike the Frost Tricksters and stuff that have really advantageous abilities, and the very advantageous abilities on the Professor of Zoomancer. So these are the biggest underperformers by far, kind of the poster childs for the games that we were losing. The overperformers, Tempted by the Auric was also an underperformer, because we drew it in one game where our opponent just had nothing we could steal, and then it also wasn't like the craziest thing in the game, so we did get to steal things. But the overperformers were definitely the Hall of Oracles here. This thing was completely absurd, constantly putting +1/+1 counters on our flying creatures and stuff, our Inkling summonings and all that. So that was a huge overperformer. Archway Commons, I'll put that in the underperformer pile as well. We had some rough times getting that onto the board, but it did help our mana in some of the other games where we could get it out reasonably easily. Overall, I like this deck a good bit. I think it's just been a little too long since I drafted this kind of like blue-black focused control deck in the format, where there are some things that I should have taken differently, although it's not like the aerialists were in a pack with anything else. The Trudge, I think there might have been something better. But overall, really happy with the lesson board. The lesson board was phenomenal. The ways to learn lessons between the Eye Twitch, Double Hunt for Specimens, Rise of Ecstasies, and Cram Session, that was all phenomenal. And that was like the core idea of the deck, and that all worked really well together. The Professor of Zoomancy off the splash, phenomenal stuff there. Leyline Invocations were kind of like filler game enders, but they did end some games. We needed something like that to do so. So overall, I like the idea behind the deck. I like how I drafted for the most part, but there are some things about this deck that could definitely be improved in the future. And so we're just going to be 5-3 instead of like 7-0 or anything super great there. But we'll absolutely take it. 1,600 gems and 4 packs and a pretty positive win rate. Very good draft today. But that is going to end today's video. If you enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you more of these videos in your recommended feed. If you'd like to hang out with me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.